just so I don't mess this up again, because I've relied on Google at times to make sure I don't mess it up. How do I pronounce your surname? Because I don't think I've got it right once.
Sjögren.
I'm not sure I even want to try that.
No, it's a tricky one. It's some noises basically that you don't do in English, and then I think the key thing is you have also the G before the R. So Gren, Sjögren, yeah. Oh, it's
Sjögren.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, what is going on? Mine's Archer Live, and in today's video, I've got something very special to share with you, that being an interview with Starbreeze's CEO, Tobias Sjögren, and I really hope that I'm pronouncing it right now since he's just told me how to say it. In this video, we talk about Payday 2, Payday 3, the future of Starbreeze, the console version to Payday, and more, but since this is an interview very similar to some of the past interviews I did at the end of 2020, and it's being posted on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, I wanted to very quickly tease the upcoming second season of my podcast, the Redcast. For those of you who are new to my channel and maybe don't know about the Redcast, it's the show all about exploring the world of entertainment and the many forms it takes, and it's had a number of both Payday and non-Payday themed guests over its first season. And since we're on the subject, I am very happy to confirm that the show will return with its second season on this channel, as well as the audio platforms I've just mentioned, this month on March 29th, 2021, with our first guest being Payday 2 Lawmaster himself, the Noli. I have got some other exciting guests confirmed, but I'm going to keep them all under wraps, except for one, because there is one person a lot of you are asking for me to bring onto the show in Season 1, and that man is Payday 2 music maestro himself, Simon Vickland. So I am very happy to confirm that he has expressed an interest in being on the show, so expect him to appear in Season 2. But either way, I'm going to shut up now and let you enjoy this interview, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Welcome, Tobias, your first appearance on the channel individually. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Very good. Working from home as always here during the COVID times, but yeah, all good.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. So I've got a few questions for you as the interim CEO of Starbreeze, just to try and get an idea of what you've been doing in your position, some of the goals you've got, some messages for the community, etc. So I'd like to start off first by getting a bit of background about you, because with some of the past CEOs, we've had some knowledge of how they've got into the position, etc. I think for those of you who may not know you too well, what is your history with Starbreeze? When did you start out, and how has your role evolved over your time with the company?
Yeah, so actually, I got to know Starbreeze already end of the 90s when they started out, and actually the first work I did with Starbreeze was back in 2005. I was a consultant helping them to evaluate the Darkness project. Do this development analysis afterwards that we usually call postmortems, to see what you can improve for the next project. So that was my first real kind of work together with Starbreeze. But obviously, that was a very different Starbreeze than the one we have today. It's this kind of company that's gone through a lot of iterations over time. But I've been in the industry myself since '96. I started out as a programmer, and then I've been on the managerial side, mainly business development. Over the years, worked at, for example, DICE, and during the release of Battlefield 1942 back in the days. And then, as of lately, Paradox Interactive, for example. So I've always been, in contact with Starbreeze one way or another. There's a pretty small community in the game industry in general, and in Sweden particularly. So you know each other. And in the spring of 2019, just after the reconstruction started there, which started in December 2018. I got the question if I wanted to be on the board during the reconstruction and see if I could help out in any way to basically reform Starbreeze. So I accepted that, and I was elected to the board in June 2019. So for this part of my Starbreeze experience, that's when it started, really, June 2019. And then the reconstruction ended in December 2019. Been basically with the company for 1.5 years, soon 2 years, as a board member. It's been great. And then in the fall here, we had to do something of a management change here due to unforeseen things. So very, very swiftly, Michael had to resign, unfortunately. And I think a good board, there's always somebody who can step in and help out if needs be. And in this case, in the fall here, when this situation unraveled, I got the question if I wanted to help out in that aspect as well, and it fitted me well where I was work-wise as well at the time, so I could take on that responsibility. So I quickly accepted, of course, and so we didn't get a gap between Michael had to leave and somebody else joining in, and just took over the ongoing work. And of course, me having been on the board, that was a fairly easy transition in a way. I wouldn't say it was necessarily easy, but I knew about our processes, our projects that was ongoing and so forth. So just start running speed basically, and been doing it since.
Good. It's good that you had some experience with the board so you could hit the ground running and be used to kind of what you were working with. So just for anyone who might not be confused, your current position title is Interim CEO. How does that differ from a standard CEO title?
Well, when Michael had to leave with very short notice, right? So what you do then as a company, you put in an interim CEO before you figure out who's going to be the final one. Basically, I think you would do that basically on any kind of role in a company if somebody needs to leave with short notice. So you put somebody in there to make sure you cover up what you need to be running daily. But then of course you start figuring out, okay, who should be working this. So but what we said from early on here, I'll take the realm until we have the project Payday 3 secured, and then we'll focus again on what to do with the CEO position. So really right now I'm not really focused on anything else, and from the board perspective, which the board is my boss basically, we just look at the Payday 3 project, and then we'll figure out the how to do with future CEO after that point.
Okay. Well, that leads me quite well into my next question, which was over the period of time where Michael was back in position as the CEO, because that was his second period of time as the CEO of the company, his vision for Starbreeze was very much focused on Payday 3. So developing the game, finding a publisher, relying on that to bring in some serious money back to the company. So my question to you is, how does your vision compare or differ to that of Mikhail's for the future of Starbreeze?
Oh, very, very same, I would say, because part of that vision is also part of that strategy is born out of the reconstruction of Starbreeze, where we sold off a lot of the other assets that we had, projects and IPs and so forth, and the way forward was clearly to develop Payday as an IP. Natural next step was doing Payday 3, of course, and we could see that with the circumstances and the position we had to work from, doing this together with a publishing partner, a publisher, would be the absolutely best way for the game, and in that sense for the community and for us at Starbreeze. So that work started. Production of Payday 3 really started October 2019, really, when the first team members really got their hands on things. And it's been a project that's been out there in the pitching process for almost a year now, which is fairly normal, I would say. And in that sense, nothing's really changed. I kept on with my history in the game industry and done a lot of business development. I knew the people that the team and Michael have been talking to before, so it's an easy process for me to take over those discussions ongoing. It's still the same strategy in that sense. I think the big thing to consider, and again, it's not really a difference from before, is when we have a clear home, a clear delivery date for Payday 3, is how how will Starbreeze develop the Payday IP further, and that will be the interesting next step, I would say, beyond Payday 3, which will be a lot of fun. I'm sure the whole team here is very committed to building Payday as a really cool property. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, glad to hear it. I think a lot of us are very excited to see where things go with Payday 3. But if we talk first on a more short-term basis, I wanted to ask you, obviously Payday 2, the original vision for the game and its content was supposed to be brought to an end at the end of 2018 with the White House. And with all considered, with everything that happened with the company, the reconstruction, obviously Payday 2 development had to kick off again with more content, to bring more to the game and to help, generate money for the company. My question to you is, we've now had a full campaign with Silk Road, and we've now just started with City of Gold. Do you have any kind of specific roadmap in mind with regards to the future of Payday 2 content while Payday 3 is still being developed in the background?
Yeah, so basically this new season will, in the same way as Silk Road, last for a year, and then the vision is continue to do content until there's nobody wanted to play it any longer, / I would say to the release of Payday 3. I think we currently, what we're thinking is the release of Payday 3 is a natural movement for the community to move from Payday 2 to Payday 3, and we'll do everything in our power to help that to happen easily. But up until that point, see no reason not to continue to support the game with more content. So yeah, absolutely. I think the commitment you can clearly see here with the release last week, for example. So we'll continue to deliver.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm glad to see some more content coming out, and I'm particularly excited that they've just been a bit more spread out this time. Gives me a lot more to talk about over the next 12 months. Let's move on then to Payday 3. Let's talk about that a little bit. So I'm not sure how much you can tell me, obviously, because it's still very early days with development, but I wanted to ask you very generally how the development of Payday 3 is going, and if at all possible, while I know it's probably unlikely, but if possible, can you share any tiny pieces of insight into the development of the game?
Yeah, team is very specific with me here. The last thing I have is a CEO sitting there and saying things about something in development. So
yeah,
but what I can say is the team is working really well with it. We have team members joining every month. We have more developers joining the team as the projects start ramping up in like the second phase of the project, so to say. So it's all going really well. I'm super excited about the possibilities that I've seen, manifested in the playtest that I've been lucky enough to participate in. So yeah, I would say it's going well. I wish I could tell you guys more, but not at this point. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. It's interesting to hear that you've been undergoing some playtests for it, though. That sounds very good.
Well, I think the difference these days with games in general, you back in the days, I'm sorry, I'm showing my age here, but you basically developed an engine, and then in the last part of the development process, you were able to play the game, and then you put it together and you released it basically, and it was a much more of a hit and miss process, of course. But technology was very difficult. Everyone basically had to write their own engine. And these days, as we're using Unreal, for example, for Payday 3 here, you can start prototyping, can start testing things very, very early on. So the development on video games have gone through a pretty amazing evolvement over the years, especially the last 2 decades that I've been part of this. Is a very different process these days to do a game, and a game like Payday 3, for example, you start with ideas, you start testing them very, very early on, and it's, I would say, quite normal in any game development these days. That's how you're working. So, and of course, we're doing the same thing.
Well, then, sticking with Payday 3, one other question I've got, and I imagine it's going to have a very similar answer, but as a lot of us know, Starbreeze are currently looking for a publisher for Payday 3. Originally, the vision was to find one in the first half of 2020, but with everything going on with the coronavirus pandemic, that's been a bit more difficult. Is the company any closer to securing a publishing agreement? Is there any more information might be coming soon with regards to that?
Well, as mentioned, we started the pitching process, basically going out there and talking to everyone on the market that's relevant about a year ago, and yeah, somewhat delayed due to Corona. So usually you have a couple of trade shows that happens over the year which are like milestones for these kind of pitching processes. And this was, of course, very different past year. But what can I say? We're definitely a lot closer right now than we were a year ago. We're closer now to the end of this than we are to the start of this. So let's put it that way. But I can't really disclose like exactly where we're at in the process, because we're a stock listed company, and you know, in fairness to everyone you're talking to in negotiations like this, you don't disclose that publicly, of course. But yeah, I'm very happy about the discussions we have. Our goal here is to find a publisher that shares the same interest in us as about doing a game as a service, doing something that not only releases and you have a game, and then, you know, in best case you get a one DLC or an expansion pack, and that's it, right? We want to, of course, do exactly what we've done with Payday 2, continuous development post release, and that is a little bit different. Not all publishers, potential partners out there, work in that fashion today. So we want to make sure we find somebody who's really share our vision of how to service a community in that fashion, who shares the interest and the passion about it. And yeah, we want to make the best possible situation for Payday 3 in the future. And that's it basically. So of course it will have to take some time. Yeah, and I think it's better that we make the best possible scenario for Payday 3 forward than you know, stressing and to meet some specific deadlines. I think that's everyone will appreciate that in the end, at least. But
oh yeah, that's
I can understand the frustration while you're waiting for. Yeah.
No, that's good, and I'm glad in particular to hear that you've got a similar plan for post-launch content for Payday 3. I think that's, in particular, Payday 2. I don't want to talk out of turn or kind of disrespect Payday 2, but to me personally, if you compare the way Payday 2 was when it launched compared to what it's got now, it's almost an entirely different game. I mean, I remember just even playing it on the Xbox 360, which we'll get onto consoles in a moment, but as you probably are aware, it wasn't really very well supported on that platform. And then when I transported to the Xbox One, just that alone, the amount of change there was, even in the amount of content available, amount of characters, it was extraordinary. And then you compare that now to 2021 with where it's at now, the content it's fantastic. There's so much stuff. So I'm really glad to hear that there's a similar plan for Payday 3. So
yeah, of course. I mean, I think it makes for an experience that's just more interesting. And for us, if you just look at from a business perspective as well, it's better to do it that way, right? It's a more kind of secure business to have an ongoing long-term relationship with your community, rather than releasing something and then forget about it, right? And we see the whole business have been trending towards this for a long time, and you've seen, you know, subscription-based MMO examples, of course, and so it's nothing particularly, you know, different or strange today to do this. But I think Payday 2 was one of the games that really set a standard back in the days when it released and did this. And of course, Starbreeze have learned a lot during these years of Payday 2 service, how to do it and what not to do. And the big thing in this industry is really mistakes, and better next time. That's the only way of progress, right? So we'll certainly try to do that, and we'll probably do some mistakes in the future as well. It's part of trying to make things better. Is sometimes not making something perfect, but then, you know, you can always improve. So full focus on making a really awesome Payday 3 experience, and working with technology this time around that is much more forgiving for porting it to various platforms and so forth. Is of course a bonus for us as well. But I think I'm going too far.
Well, no, you're leading perfectly into my next question, which, as I mentioned, obviously Payday 2 has sadly not had the best history with consoles, with the platforms it's released on. And it is fair to say that the console community has been dealt the short straw repeatedly when it comes to the content updates, etc. Although it can be said that with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions, some real serious progress was made, which is fantastic. It's still a little bit left behind. So my question to you is, with it being now over a year, sadly, since the last update for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, do you have any kind of message to give to the Payday 2 console players?
I think, unfortunately, it's the same message that Michael sent out, the Winds of Change email, if you like, the one that arrived in, I think it was December 19, right?
Yeah.
November, December. Same situation. I mean, the focus for I'm avoiding your question a little bit for a while here, just to look at the future.
Yeah.
Focus for Payday 3 is, and thanks to the Unreal Engine, being able to sim launch on consoles, which we didn't do with Payday 2, and to have a parity between the versions all along from the start. So the problem with Payday 2, as Michael expressed in that email, is really about our technology that we're using for Payday 2 is not up to task. It's very, very, very difficult to make it function on consoles in the fashion that would really put it in parity to the PC version. We do have people who are looking at these things constantly, but unfortunately, I'm sad to report there's no change from previous message.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's a focus for Payday 3 at the very least. So
yeah, no, and I think it's a key experience today as well, right? The way consoles have developed over the years as well, it's just amazing. And I see. Look back at 20 years, you're like, are you a console player or a PC player? Today doesn't really matter. I mean, I remember debating back in the days if you could do first-person shooters on a console, right?
yeah,
And today, that kind of discussion feels ridiculous, right? But that that was a big issue when that finally started to manifest, and the games show that you can play with a gamepad in that fashion. And today I find myself even putting my gamepad into my PC and playing, which was just, you wouldn't imagine back in the days. And that's the same way.
Yeah, I think.
So yeah, no, and again, technology. You should focus on making a great game experience and not building technology if somebody else have already built that technology. And that's really what we're focusing on this time around.
Yeah, it's definitely true that things have improved between like console players and PC. I mean, I remember even in the last like half a dozen years, there was certainly more of a battle over which platform was best to play on. But especially nowadays, when you've got more games that are allowing for play between platforms, which I think is fantastic. It's a great feature. Things like Call of Duty, etc. It's good that it's kind of uniting communities a bit more. I think that's quite a special thing, and I'm glad that it's going in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the key questions I've got for you. So before we round this off, as some closing remarks, do you have any general messages that we've not yet discussed for the Payday community?
Well, I gotta say, I mean, being new in this position, I really felt welcomed by the community. The few interactions I've had here, love reading the Twitter feeds and trying to keep up to date there. And it feels like a really great community that it clearly is giving us at Starbreeze a fantastic support. But yeah, I just gotta point that out. The true heroes in relation to Payday is really the development team, the community team, the publishing team of Payday 2, and of course the guys and girls who are developing Payday 3 right now. I mean, I'm just a CEO here, trying to get things to work out from a business perspective, but they are the ones who are really delivering day in and day out fantastic experience. So yeah, do give them your absolute love. They are the unsung heroes of this Payday adventure. Yeah, to the community, what I can say is just I really like the community. I think it's a good tone. Keep on being nice to each other. Keep on playing the game, and we'll keep on producing content and doing as much cool stuff as we can for you guys.
Keep those helmets flying, eh?
Yeah.
Good little way to end it. Well, thank you very much, Tobias. Those are all the questions I've had. So thank you very much for coming on. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Awesome. Take care.